Hello, we are going to go over a Bigwig setup walkthrough of, I think the next dungeon up is Dawn of the Infinite, Murozond's Rise. So we're just going to hop into our Bigwig settings. We're going to go to Tier the Infinite Keeper in Dawn of the Infinite, since that is where the dungeon begins. And then we, again, the goal is to set a red bar for a major damage event, a yellow bar for a moderate damage event, and a countdown timer for each boss. And then go through the trash, and then that is pretty much it. So that's our goals. So with tier, we have, this is the tank frontal that happens, and then Infinite Annihilation is the giant frontal, which I think this is what we'll set our countdown for, because that will let us know when the frontal is going to happen and when to bait. So we will enable a countdown for that one. And we won't change the color of that bar. And then the dividing strike will be the red bar. So this is the giant AoE soak that everyone needs to stand in. So that will be our red bar here. Set these to 0. And then our yellow bar is going to be the Spark of Tear, which is the dispels that need to go out. And also some pretty hefty group-wide damage. So we're just going to make that yellow. And now we have a red bar, a yellow bar, and our countdown timer. And then other than that, I think that is it. We can leave everything else alone. And we'll move on to the next boss. So next up we have Morchie. So we have the frontal for the tank, which is Sandblast. Probably leave that alone. We have more problems, which is just where she does the intermission where you have to find the real her. Probably just leave that alone. Dragon's Breath is just when the thing runs out. And then we have Familiar Faces and Time Traps. I think really the only important thing here is probably Familiar Faces, which is just when the copies of all the players spawn or either respawn and chase after you. So that's what we're going to be wanting to be most aware of as a healer, because that's when we need to do like group-wide healing and also make sure that our ad either is CC'd or walks into a trap on the floor. So we're just going to set this as the countdown and the red bar for this fight, since it is by far the most important thing. And then other than that, I think we just leave it alone. We don't need to worry about anything else, really. So that's all we're going to do for Morchie. And then next up, we have Time Lost Battlefield. This one is definitely very, very painful. And there are 2 different bosses, but we're going to set... So, like, for instance, the bosses do, you know, Shockwave and Mortal Strike. So we're going to set both of these up for both bosses, if that makes sense. So what we'll probably do is make the... for the Alliance and for the Horde, this is where they spawn the ads in the room. We'll set this as the countdown timer, since that is probably some of the more dangerous parts of the fight, is when the ads spawn. So that's when we're going to want to have a lot of healing ready to go. And then I believe what we'll do here is for the Alliance and for the Horde will be our yellow bar. Yeah, let's do this as our yellow bar. Just get rid of the blue. Move my mic a little bit. Sorry if that's noisy. So we're just going to make that yellow. Make this yellow as well. And then our red bar is going to be the Mortal Strikes and the Decapitate, because this is the heavy damage that happens to the tank. So this we will set as our red bar. And that way we just know when the tank is going to be taking the most amount of damage, just for things like externals and stuff. And then lastly, what I'd like to do in this fight is the Blade Storm if it targets us. So we set this to only when on me. And we're just going to make the sound the PvP flag taken sound, just so we're aware that we are targeted by it and we need to move. I don't even know if it can target healers to begin with, but in case people die and we end up getting targeted, then that way we know. And that's it. So that's Time Lost Battlefield. Next up is the last boss, which is Deios. And this one's another pretty big fight, so the first thing I know that I'm going to do is set a countdown timer for the infinity orbs. Since that is probably one of the most dangerous things, and this will be our red bar. So countdown and red bar for the orbs. And then we have, let's see. We have Chrono Burn, which is a dispel, and if you don't dispel it right away, you will fall behind on the dispels, so it's very important to dispel instantly. So I think what we're going to do here is probably set this as our yellow bar. I was thinking about setting the frontal as the yellow bar, but that's mostly just a tank thing. So I think we're going to set Chrono Burn as our yellow bar. And then what we will do is set the sound, not to only win on me, but we're going to set this to just say dispel every time it goes out. That way I'm aware and I dispel immediately.
Dispel.
So as soon as the debuff goes out, I'll get an alert for it, and it'll also be a yellow bar on our timers. That's it for that, and now we go to the trash, and we're going to skip down here to where we see, I believe it is right here. Where is he? Infinite Twilight Magus, that's from this. And not going to worry about this stuff, not going to worry about anything here. These are all abilities that don't really matter, are very, very telegraphed. The Shrouding Sandstorm is probably important, so I think we will... I think what we will do here is just set a countdown timer for the Maiden, because there's 3 mini-bosses before the first boss, and each mini-boss has like a special ability or 2 that they use. There is no countdown timer available for the big AoE Radiance that the Maiden does, but we can set a countdown for the orb. So we'll set a countdown for the orb and then set the sound to like dodge. So, or the sound, so that
Dodge.
When she sends out the orb, or while she's sending out the orb, we are alerted to dodge and are aware that that's happening. Timeline Marauders, don't need to worry about this. This is just a, what is it called? A interrupt. Infinite Burn, also an interrupt. Let's see. Don't need to worry about any of this stuff still. Don't need to worry about anything here. And then here we have the Horde and Alliance Destroyer, where they send out the little bombers. We could just enable a countdown for this if we wanted to. I think I'm just going to leave it blank for now, and maybe if I feel like it, we'll switch it. I just don't want to have too many countdown timers, because otherwise it just kind of becomes noise in your head that you won't really actually pay attention to. Consecration is definitely an ability that I would want, which is also Earthquake. So we're going to set this as our countdown. And that's just the trash before the battlefield boss. And it just instantly drops a patch of stuff on the floor under your feet and instantly does a lot of damage. So just having a countdown for it so we can kind of be on the move or be ready and know when it's coming will be nice. And then other than this, I think we can just ignore everything else. There are some frontals here and there, and usually with frontals I do use a sound effect. But we're not going to worry about that right now because I have a weak aura that covers that stuff. If I don't remember to put it in the description, you guys can always just remind me. But you can also just look up like frontal weak aura, and it usually comes up on Wago. So yeah, I think that is it for this dungeon here, for part 2 of Dawn of the Infinite. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll move on to the other dungeons very shortly. See you later.